on prioritizing catalog online versus trying to optimize for the social media game. In the last couple of years, I tried to, post media online. And usually, then this meant that I also would schedule this media. Now, in the last couple of weeks, a decision developed over time, also with an increasing pressure on this business to turn kind of into a business. And so I made the decision to, instead of scheduling things, to not schedule them, which therefore has multiple implications. One idea I had was that the things I would post, at least in terms of the documentation style videos, where I document decision, for example, like this, would ideally be posted as close to real time as possible. Now, this is just one decision variable in this. Now, something else would be, what are the consequences for this? The intended, maybe the intended positive consequences, but also the unintended kind of negative consequences, even though I still am kind of accepting them. So it seems to be the case that if you have a channel, similar to maybe you have a storefront, you don't just want to have the store open at one time and then never again. Now, there are, of course, advantages to scheduling and disadvantages to scheduling, and basically also advantages to not scheduling and disadvantages to not scheduling. Now, the biggest result out of this, I think the biggest decision factor was, in my case, that it takes less time to schedule. So per media unit I eventually will post during my lifetime, let's just say, the time cost per unit goes down. So if I think about the production process as ideation, then in the middle we have creation and then distribution. Up until now, I would say creation and distribution were at least 1-to-1, if not distribution kind of overtook the creation part. There is an ongoing process of distributing the media I want to create, and not only the videos I want to create, but also other types of media I am creating. Now, in terms of the distribution, the idea is the more I can get it down to basically a smaller proportion of my fixed working time. If I think about the time I have, then I have a certain set of hours which are reoccurring again and again as long as I am alive. And so of course, now there is always this argument: you can't just work more, you can't just we can't just be that much more efficient. There is just no more time. If I have a certain amount of computational power and I multiply it by time, then there is a certain output. And if I have now time constraint, then I need to increase the system's efficiency. In this case, the production process efficiency in order to basically output a greater number of videos. Now, one could also say, what is the consequence in terms of quality of this decision? Not really much, because the only thing I'm doing is now I'm not scheduling these videos. Now, in terms of the overall, so there are multiple different ideas about this. One idea would be that Netflix, for example, also kind of does a similar scheduling. They just have all the episodes and then they just release them. Now, in TV, on the other side, we have this reoccurring thing. Now, this reoccurring thing might have the advantage that it might build habits over time. So if I think about myself and viewing Casey Neistat in maybe 2015, 16 and 17, then because he posted again and again and again, I was drawn in again and again and again, even though I did sometimes at least not necessarily want this to be the case, because I wanted to focus on my own life. Nonetheless, I was kind of led to again watching these videos. Now, one could argue this is positive or negative, but in terms of Casey Neistat's in terms of what this does to Casey Neistat's videos, it probably benefits him if more people are more prone to let's just say they cannot stop watching, which one might also argue is to a certain extent maybe not necessarily a very productive behavior. Now, I am just using Casey Neistat as an example. The same might apply for my videos, but I don't want to assume that my videos are that good that everybody, not everybody, but somebody would become would be led to watching them again and again and again, for example. And now there is also another idea I recently had about this, but I just think I don't mention it right now because otherwise the video would get too long. This is mostly now about this decision of not scheduling and about prioritizing the catalog. One might also say, if I, for example, want to create a new channel, and once I create a new channel, I have a couple of videos. If I now post these videos, and I had different schedules. So the first idea I had was that I would, over a certain set time, just say, okay, I have this many videos, and I would distribute them evenly. The next idea I had was that I would use the common time heuristics, time intervals one already has established. This could be a century, for example. This could be a year or a decade. So century, decade, then we have the year, then we have the month, maybe also the quarter in between, but that's not that common. The month, the week, and the day. And so one could pick one of these, and if one wants to go below the frequency of the day, below daily posting, then I didn't necessarily know what the next thing would be. So I thought about quarter, but then would I post at midnight, at 6 in the morning, at 12? But then these would not necessarily be good times. So the actual result of using heuristics again would just be to post every hour. And the next iteration would then be to post every minute and then to post every second. By using basically these commonly known time heuristics, one could therefore just step up and step down and would not have to think about the marginal increase in between, therefore simplifying the process and also creating kind of a step function instead of otherwise existing, not a step function, but I think the proper word is a consecutive function, not consecutive. I can't remember the English word for this right now. A continuous function, I think, is the right word. Now, in terms of scheduling again, there might again be upsides and downsides to this. One upside to now prioritizing the catalog is that I, at any given point in time, have more videos online. These would be the videos that would be posted. So if I now have a certain set amount of videos that are already produced, I could now schedule them. They would appear maybe on a daily basis. So in the last the last schedule I ran on was that every time I had videos for a channel, I would post them daily. And so basically one day, the next day, the next day, the next day, until the stack basically ran out. Now, what this resulted in is a couple of things which I then would mention, but I also first have to mention that I ran basically the schedule on duplicate because I ran them for shorts and for longs. So this also meant that sometimes the shorts and the longs were not chronologically ordered, which also was a concept I tried to implement. But since I had now this dual schedule of, okay, I post a short daily and a long daily as long as I have them, this also meant that these two were independent kind of, which also meant that so it could have been the case that I had recorded the long version, not the long version, but a long video, actually after I recorded a short video, but then it would be posted before because I had more short videos already recorded before this long video, or they would be posted at least before this long video, because they were more in stack from maybe a previous recording session, for example. Now, I decided to simplify this also and to just say, okay, instead of short and longs, I just produce videos, and I try to be as short as possible and also as precise as possible, ideally, but I just make the video, I turn the idea I have into something. Also, this is a heuristic, I think, that is also used in conversation. It is not, do I say something short or do I say something long right now, but it is, what do I say now that just is straight to the point and does not basically hurt the other person's time usage expectation. I don't necessarily now have a word for this, but if I want to value the other person's time, then ideally I keep my ideas short and don't talk too long. Now, if I prioritize the catalog, then at any given point in time, the videos I otherwise would have, so I prioritize the catalog by scheduling now no longer, but by posting already. So what I am doing, so this is now the process, I am just posting the videos, and as I am posting, they are basically already going live. This also means that I don't post a batch, at least if one takes into account that, of course, it takes a couple of seconds for the next video to upload, and for me also to post the next video. So it is never actually one point in time where lots of videos appear, but of course if one takes a bigger time interval and then says, okay, during these hours there happen to be 250 videos posted, or 30 videos posted, or 2 videos posted. Now, if I prioritize the catalog, then if I think about my time as my time on this planet here as a timeline, then on this timeline I could have a certain absolute, so I could reach certain absolute levels in terms of specific goals. For example, this could be videos posted online. This could be how well I am able to increase my VO2 max. This could be how much money I am making over my lifetime, for example. This could also be something else, any other metric, how many books I've read, something else that ideally also with increasing it, so the metric would be in a way that by increasing it, one is also increasing basically progress towards a given goal that also seems then to be in line with one's overall goals. Now, if I at any given point in time, let's say, the average batch I would have already produced, but it is still in the process of being scheduled, if this is always, so let's just say there's an average rate for my lifetime. And so the average rate is the videos I have produced, which have not been posted yet, but are already scheduled. Then this here, if I can basically not postpone it, but into the other direction, basically not postpone it, but beforepone it, then, well, I can basically, at all of these absolute levels, in this case, videos posted, let's just say, I can basically bring them into the present. So by posting them earlier, let's say I have 1,000 videos, which I am kind of approaching in, so I have currently 600 videos or something like this, which already have been produced. Now, keep in mind, these are not videos like these. Often, these are just short videos that could also just be a couple of seconds long. So now, if I have 500 or 1,000 videos, and instead of now scheduling them, which would take now, depending on the channel, it would take maybe a year for them to post. Now, if I instead post them now already, then I'm basically taking the overall totally posted videos that have been posted over my life, and then there's the point of death. And so at the point of death, I would otherwise still maybe producing videos, and I'm basically taking this absolute level, and by now having them posted already, I am basically bringing a level that otherwise would be basically beyond the time cliff of death. I'm bringing this basically in line with my actual death. So at any point in my life also, I now have just more videos posted, so I'm reaching basically a lifetime target earlier, because I already have this, if again the metric is videos posted online. Now, of course, one could say maybe this has then a negative impact on the revenue, because then YouTube and other social media engines realize, okay, this channel is just posting once, and then people are not that interested. And also, if he posts once, then the content might be not as actual, not actual, but current. But in my case, because I try to basically approximate, at least with the notes I share, I try to post them as soon. So basically, they are more current, the closer to, so if the closer the distance between the point in time, the temporal distance, one could say, from recording the video and posting the video, the more accurate the video kind of becomes. If I record this now and I post it in 10 years, then this won't be that current. So if I basically bridge this distance also in terms of sharing notes that intend to be neutral and kind of made in a documentation style, or in a just neutral style, then I am basically optimizing also toward this goal of being neutral in a certain way, because I am less creating this artificial arc that otherwise would be created, and I'm already posting the videos I already recorded, and that now they are already live, so the distance is basically smaller. Now, there might be a couple of effects, so scheduling and not scheduling would have possibly also other effects. Now, here are a couple of them that came to my mind. So one of these is that by posting a lot, I am already giving a certain media algorithm. Let's just say they are trying to determine a target audience, or an average target audience, or just a prototype target audience member for my channel. Then it takes probably time. And so now if I now create a new channel, and then I post the videos over the next 30 days, let's just say for 1 month, then there is only one piece of data that comes into this algorithm. So there is only one additional media unit which the algorithm can use in order to then expose it to an audience, and the audience then basically kind of votes on this, and also might not watch this, and then it might try it on a different audience. Now, one might say, so first of all, it takes basically 30 days for 30 media pieces to be delivered to an algorithm, the YouTube algorithm, let's just say, to then have the YouTube algorithm determine kind of a target audience. Now, if I instead post these videos already right now, then these 30 pieces are basically at any point in time available. Therefore, YouTube could potentially use them earlier. So therefore, earlier create a prototype for my audience, and then therefore earlier know kind of what my channel is actually about. So also bringing kind of the point at which YouTube reaches a kind of critical audience prototype, bring it further to me right now. Now, the big advantage of bringing basically absolute levels of progress into kind of the present seems to be, at least in my current thinking, that I therefore also bring potential monetary goals or potential monetary rewards, in this case YouTube AdSense revenue, kind of into the present. And since I am intending at least to rely on this to a certain extent, this also seems to make, in terms of business, sense. Now, one could say immediately, so this was also a thinking I for a long time had, if I now post 30 videos in a day, and this seems to be kind of evident in the data. If I post one video a day, it might get a certain amount of views. But if I instead post already the 30 videos I otherwise would have posted for the entire month, then they get per video, at least at first, less views. But now think in terms maybe out of YouTube's perspective, or the YouTube algorithm's perspective. If a customer comes to my door, let's just say he wants to sell something, it's not actually a customer. So I am here and somebody wants to sell me something. Let's just say it's CDs. Then if I first of all want to test all of this thing, I can get the CD and the customer or the person says, okay, you can buy this from me, and I have this idea. Maybe I sell this on eBay, and maybe he doesn't know about eBay because he's 80 years old. So I buy this, and by buying the first thing, I can then test this hypothesis that I could sell this with a margin on eBay. Now, I could also already buy all of the 30 things, but this would be a higher risk. So I first need to buy this and then potentially find a target audience for this. And once I found a seller, I can then repeat the whole thing. Now, if the person already gives me all of the CDs, then potentially what I could do is already begin to earlier sell them. Now, what kind of resulted out of this are basically, first of all, again, the postponing approach. So I'm basically buying all the discs already, kind of in order also to possibly reduce the risk that he might sell to somebody else. But that's actually not what I made the analogy for. What I made the analogy for is that I first, as a YouTube algorithm, if I am the YouTube algorithm, want to know whether this one piece is actually kind of worth watching. So if there's an audience for this, because otherwise, if I have a certain viewer and I suggest this viewer a certain video, and this video is not that good, let's just say, or is just not a target audience fit, then if this person sees many of these videos, then the overall quality of his experience on YouTube is actually decreased. So there seems to be a risk involved in basically playing out something that is not that known in terms of what actually the result of this is, the quality of the video, and also the target audience. So if I post 30 videos instead of one, then why would YouTube now suddenly just give my channel 30 times the exposure and also have maybe 30 times the risk? Instead, it probably still takes the risk it thinks it is justified and plays so many videos out to the target audience that, whatever it thinks it is useful for basically the optimization of overall customer experience on YouTube. Not necessarily customer experience, because one could say the customers are actually the advertisers, but much more user experience in this case. Now, one therefore maybe should not compare if I post these 30 videos right now already and on one day, and then they don't get that many views. But instead, what I should compare is if I post them today, let's just say, and I post all of these 30 videos, and then I compare this with after a month compared to basically the videos that would have been scheduled, because at this point in time the same amount of videos have been posted. But if I compare these two scenarios, the benefit again of posting already everything might be that I, instead of the second video only posted on the second day, the third video on the third day, so they are missing out basically on the days they otherwise would already have been posted. So again, bringing kind of the otherwise existing absolute targets kind of more into the present by already giving YouTube basically all the different data. So it could already take kind of the best performing video potentially and play it out to a target audience, and not have to wait for the best performing video to actually be only posted once scheduled. And once the schedule says, okay, right now is scheduling time, and we now post this, it does not have to potentially wait for day 30 for maybe the one video that actually finds a target audience and an interest. And instead it can already kind of take all the catalog and maybe use all the catalog already. So therefore, all of these different metrics that are kind of associated with a channel, like the revenue I might be able to create from a certain channel, the target audience prototype, once basically YouTube has a certain prototype for my audience, they all kind of seem to come into the present by scheduling right now. And so therefore, if I have a certain number of media units online at any given point of my life, I also bring them into the present by basically by adding the videos that otherwise would be in the pipeline basically, and still to be posted, but have not made it yet out of the pipeline. What I'm also doing is I'm ideally reducing the distribution cost, because I no longer have to schedule them. Now I but as a kind of final step, maybe want to explain my previous workflow and now the current workflow. So I have the ideation process, the creation process, and the distribution process. The ideation process in my case is mostly me thinking about some things, and then I turn the camera on, or I decide I turn this into something else, which is in this case then often just notes. I also use Twitter as notes, but there seem to be multiple problems involved as using Twitter as kind of my idea list, because I cannot get all of the different channels into then one list, because I would have to just maybe subscribe to all of them. But if I do, then I also am exposing my mind to the Twitter algorithm, which in terms of work time, but also in terms of private time, seems to not make that much sense. And so I'm collecting them right now in basically just a to-do list. And then in the creation, just take a look at this to-do list. I usually have just one title and one idea, and then I turn this into a video, could be a short or a long video. And then I have the distribution, in which I take the video, I then copy the title of the video into Notion, which I currently use as a list. Now, the maximum number of files or entries Notion can create from copy pasting seems to be 200, maybe it's 250, but I got as high as 200, 300 or 400 seems to be too much, at least with my given RAM and also my computing power in terms of what the PC I am using. So 200, if this is the maximum, then if I have a list of all the videos, then I go through them and I copy them as a file path, and therefore I'm getting at least the video title, which is the file title. I then copy the file title into Notion by using Excel, so I copy them as path into Excel, and then I remove basically the file path and also the file extension, and then I have the file number, not the file number, but the file title, which I then input into Notion. And in the past I would then also again take a consecutive Excel date list, and this consecutive Excel date list I would use basically from now until how many days I basically would need, and then I would copy paste this again into Notion, again maximally 200 entries, and then I would have basically the list with the file names and also now the schedule. Now I did try to do this something like this in Notion, and you can also copy paste the dates from one list to another in Notion, but since Notion is that laggy, I just did not use it for this purpose. It seems to be very throttle-necked on my PC, and so I barely can use it. And sometimes on another PC it actually loaded for 10 seconds, sometimes 60 seconds just for a single thing. It seems to be mostly related to how many entries are displayed. So if I only have 25 or 50 entries displayed, then it loads fairly quickly, but once it has to load 200 entries, then it's kind of game over, it seems. So you seem to always have to kind of filter this. Sometimes it does work a little bit better, sometimes it works less well. So I then pulled up YouTube in this case, if I just posted to YouTube. Previously I also used other platforms, but currently I'm only posting videos to YouTube. So I then opened YouTube Studio, and I then basically take the file, and now these files are stored on my hard drives. And now the somewhat genius thing I have to I can give myself credit for, at least in my own workflow, it was kind of a step up, I would say, is that instead of taking the file and inserting it basically here. So basically I would have to go through multiple folders often, and then what if I actually had this video, and then retrospectively I said this actually now is for a different channel. Now, what I currently do in Notion is I attribute a certain channel to a video. And so I go through the video list and I say, okay, it's this channel, it's this channel, it's this channel, it's this channel, which allows me to have a workflow in which I record cross-channel wide, one could say, and then only not retribute, but I attribute the channel afterwards in Notion. So basically Notion connects the channels as well as the video ideas, as well as previously also the scheduling dates. Now, I also had other metadata tracked in Notion previously, but in order to simplify my workflow and therefore decrease the time spent in distribution, have now used less of these. And I'm trying basically also with getting rid of the distinction between short and long to basically just have one video list, which then I had one scheduling date, but now I also got rid of the scheduling date. Now, once I therefore need the file to upload it to YouTube, I basically just copy the file name from Notion, and I also have them sorted in Notion, which is always kind of the same list, and it's the same sort. I usually sort them alphabetically, which, because I'm using a timestamp, means they are basically sorted chronologically. Now, if I would sort them differently, I would have to again make an ID in Notion, which you can do by having a creation ID. But since I am using basically the timestamp of recording, this always gives me out the chronological order, which also means that if I then post these videos, they are always kind of in a chronological order unless I make a mistake. So the previous copy pasting the date list into Notion, and then also sometimes posting the wrong video and maybe realizing that I actually wanted to delete that video. So what happens now if I have, let's say, 10 videos and I now want to delete this video? I have to copy this scheduling and insert it here again. Now this is fine if it's just 4 or 5 videos, but if it's 200 videos and I have to wait for 15 seconds until Notion actually loads then the file, or I have to scroll down and it takes seconds to load the next page often, I then am spending minutes waiting for Notion every single day, and I did this, and these minutes I am neither actually doing anything nor am I creating. So I'm in the distribution process, but I'm just wasting time. The same is true for maybe also having a notebook that is actually not up to what I would be capable of in terms of working on the notebook. So as the notebook seems to currently be the biggest bottleneck, it seems to also make sense to update the notebook, but again, financially constrained. But then again, maybe bringing the rewards, not the rewards, but a certain absolute levels of progress kind of into the present, maybe by simplifying this process, maybe by simplifying ideation, maybe by simplifying creation, or by potentially making creation more efficient, maybe by focusing on shorter videos, I don't know. But in terms of the distribution, I at least am spending a little less time per video in distribution. So the idea, one other idea is to bring kind of the averages down. By using an average, I am not comparing my week to the previous week, because in the previous week I might have something different, and what if I am then sick? But what I'm comparing is kind of not necessarily my lifetime production rate, but I said just once I turned 18, I kind of pursued this in some way or another. So since I did pursue this in some way or another, and then also years in registered a business with this, I just said once I turn 18, I basically am an adult and I have to make money now, also retrospectively. And therefore I just said, okay, the average production rate, and so now the media unit, so I have different media pieces that are in this catalog, and one kind of these pieces are videos. And so I have now calculated the average production rate per day. And so if I can increase this, then over my lifetime, or as long as I already lived, basically this means that I am becoming better, because I'm becoming more efficient, but also the overall amount of videos then I made increases, and increases more the higher the production rate at some point in the future. And so by doing all of these different things, and also now reducing the scheduling, what I'm hoping to do is to get this production process more efficient, and therefore make the overall business basically more like a business and less like just a hobby that I intend to maybe someday turn into a business.